Nous avons un invité spécial aujourd'hui. Today we have Neeraj Shah with us. Neeraj Shah, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
So Neeraj Shah mentors people. He helps them better use and harness their energy and boost their productivity. He's been visiting Mauritius. This is the second time he's visiting Mauritius to deliver lectures for Rogers Group and its clients. Neeraj, welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here.
So Neeraj, reading through your work, we get a sense that energy is more critical than time. So you would insist on the notion of energy management rather than time management. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, people get confused when I first talk that energy is more important than time, because often they're expecting to attend a productivity program where they're expecting to learn new time management techniques, but I don't think it happens that way. The thing that you've got to understand is that, you know, there's a little formula which says that energy times time gives you results. And the thing is that time is fixed. We all have 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter even if you're a billionaire or not. So then, you know, if time is fixed, if we want to increase the results, then I think we can only look at the latter, I mean the first part, which is, you know, energy. So we've got to learn how to expand that particular energy, because if we're able to expand that, then we're able to move further and produce results. And I think there are three levels of energy that you can end up looking at. You know, one is physical energy, which most people, that's what they would kind of stop at. But that's an important base upon which to begin. And then I think the second one is the mental and emotional energy. Because take, for example, if you're having a bad day, does that affect your productivity? Yes, it does. It affects your results. You're not able to fully operate. So, you know, how do you boost that mental energy? And then the last is, I think, at a spirit level, I'm not talking anything spiritual, but more, you know, there are things that we're passionate about, you know. So if we're able to do those things on a regular basis, then it, you know, these are things that we're not only passionate about, but we're also find meaningful. So we enjoy doing them, we do them well, and we find meaningful. And if we're able to do those on a regular basis, I think they make our life more meaningful. So somehow also that has an impact on productivity. So I think those are three levels that you've got to look at when you look at energy. And when you begin to start managing those three, then I think you're able to get tremendous boost in your productivity, and people then really begin to enjoy the journey as well.
So you're Indian born, but you don't work exclusively in India. You work with foreign businessmen also, like in Mauritius with Rogers.
That's right.
So it's the second time you've been visiting the country. From what you've seen, from people you've met, from the processes you've maybe witnessed, what would be your appreciation of the Mauritian work culture?
I mean, I like it. I think people here are very positive. I think because you have a young population, I think that energy is definitely there. I think at the same time, like people around the world, they're also equally distracted. Because, you know, technology has found its way everywhere across the world, and you know, these days we all have a smartphone, or, you know, so all these particular distractions are there, and I think they end up fracturing our focus. And so if we not only have energy, but if we have focused energy, then I think we're able to do a lot more. Otherwise, I think what tends to happen is that we have so many different things tugging at our attention, tugging at our focus, that we seem to maybe make a millimeter of progress on a million things. Whereas instead, had we focused on a few fundamental things, then maybe we would have been able to make miles of progress. So I think in this day and age, and I don't think it's just for Mauritius, I think it's the world over, we are being distracted particularly by technology, and I think that if we learn to harness technology in the right way, utilize it and be more focused, I think it more positively impacts our productivity. Otherwise, every interruption ends up costing us. Just there's one piece of research done where they were looking at how long does it take you to go back to a full level of concentration for every interruption, and they're saying that there's an interruption happening every 11 minutes, and if you get distracted by that, then it takes you about 23 minutes to get back to the full level of attention and focus.
You actually end up never being concentrated to your full potential.
Yes, absolutely. So, many people have never appreciated and worked at that potential, so it's something that's alien to them. And when you begin to teach them these simple methods which help them become very focused, suddenly their productivity goes up massively.
So speaking about focus, so you founded Titan Masterminds,
yes,
which is your company, which is a business that is a mentoring company, let's say,
yes,
mentoring companies, and you work essentially with companies. Companies are these places where we get to hear a few words rather often, if not all the time. Productivity, efficiency, performance. Do these words have different meanings for you? Do you think these are the important words that needs to be reminded of in a company setup, or are there other things that are more important than efficiency, than performance, than productivity?
I think many of these we've inherited from the industrial age, and we've got to understand that many of these things had come around the time of Henry Ford and the production line, because he was the first person who had actually brought in productivity experts. And at that moment in time, there were a couple of key things that had to happen. Take for example, I was someone who was on the production line, okay, and I was fitting a particular wheel. If I didn't finish my job, then it couldn't move on to the next station. So whatever I was doing, I had to complete it. And we've somehow thought that we must complete everything that lands up on our plate. But I think the nature of work has changed. We're working in the 21st century, we're working in the knowledge economy. It's no longer a production line. So we have to now learn to discern between what is important and focus more on those particular things done. And like the 80-20 rule is there, that if you focus on that 20%, it can help you get 80% of the results. So we don't have to get everything done. And in this day and age, people juggle multiple projects. So it's not just one production line people are working on. So they have to learn how to prioritize. And I think that's one of the key things that they've got to discern, that you can do anything you want, but you can't do everything. And there's a choice that you're going to have to make. So I think it's important to get very clear that what's important to you. And I think it changes. And a good measure of productivity would be, are important things getting done? Because if important things are getting done, then I think you're being productive. If important things are not getting done, you're just getting the minutiae done, the small details, but not getting the major things. You're minoring in, you're majoring in those minor things. It just doesn't help you. So I think we've got to learn how to shift that focus. And Robin Sharma says something wonderful. He says, focus is more important than IQ. And I think it's definitely true in this case. So I think we've got to start looking at some of those things. I think also in the production line, everything had to be done. Whereas now I think we have a choice. So we've got to learn how to exercise that choice.
So what would be the other, for lack of a better word, let's call it myth, that you think exists in the business community, in the business world, as in productivity is the key word, and we need to do everything just to be productive, produce X amount of Y product or service in that amount of time. What other myths do you think exist right now?
I think there are many myths. I think one of the things that has happened is that people think that technology is going to save us all. You know, we just need to get faster computers, we need to upgrade to the new software, and suddenly everyone, you know, let's get the new app and everyone will be more productive. I think that's a huge myth, because first of all, I think the technology companies that are out there, the mobile companies, the computer companies, they have great marketing. They want you to keep upgrading, you know, so they're creating that. And secondly, I think it is first a way of thinking, and productivity is a way of life. So I think no matter what tools you currently have, if the way in which you approach productivity doesn't change, then I don't think any amount of software or new technology is going to help you.
Let's precisely talk about that. Of course, there's an approach saying that let's give them better computers, let's give them better hardware, let's give them better software, and they'll work better. That's an approach.
Yes,
it is an industrial type of approach. Let's say that. Do you think companies are doing enough outside of the realm of software and hardware to actually get their staff, get their collaborators to actually add more value and produce more value, work more efficiently, work smarter, work better?
I think that's where the gap is, and I think that's where people like myself come into the picture. And whenever we've been able to come in, we've been able to show that there are many myths out there and there's a new way of working, and if we begin to look to do these particular things, then we're able to bring a big shift in the productivity that's there, and people, you know, respond really well. So I think it's not so much about hardware and software, it's about peopleware, you know. Really, we've got to become much more people focused and, you know, develop that particular talent in that way so that they're able to apply productivity in every part of their life. It's not just for work, but they can do this in their personal life as well. And, you know, I've been able to get so much more done both in my personal life and my professional life because of these productivity tactics that I use. And I think one part of hardware and software is that there is some automation that can happen, which can save us a lot of time. So certainly that is good, and if we're able to find ways of doing that, so then we can look to move to do higher value work.
But do you feel that business leaders are sensitive or responsive to the approach of going beyond software and hardware to actually get the work done in a better way?
I think some of them are waking up to that, because, you know, they've been trying this other approach for some time and it's not working. So, you know, when they've been able to bring in new productivity paradigms and beginning to see how it's impacting the culture around and the results, and, you know, that makes a big difference. Primarily, I tend to work with entrepreneurs. And, you know, I get countless people coming back to me saying that, you know, this has completely changed the way that I'm working. And I think one of the important things to understand is that, look, if you've got happy staff, okay, they're going to be much more successful. They're going to be much more productive. You know, sales are going to be higher. And there's a great research being done. Sean Aker, who's written a book called The Happiness Advantage, talks about that, saying that, you know, people have got success the wrong way around. They think that they've got to achieve to be successful, but it's actually the other way around. If you're happy, then you can be more successful. Rather than, you know, I'll achieve, then I'll be happy.
Success doesn't lead to
success doesn't lead to happiness. So if you can look to make your people more happy, and I think that means living a more fuller, fulfilling life, then productivity ties into that in a very nice way. And that's one of the things that I work on. You know, how do we raise the happiness level, both of the individual and the team? If we're able to do that, then consistently the work environment becomes a lot more productive.
So, reading through your work and listening to you right now, we see elements of Robin Sharma cropping up.
Yes.
Might be elements of Peter Drucker maybe
Yes.
cropping up also.
Yes.
Which begs the question actually, has everything been already discovered, if I can use the term, in the science of coaching, in science of mentoring, in the science of working better, working more efficiently, working more intelligently? Or do you think there are people who are still discovering smarter ways, brighter ways, more interesting ways, approaches to do things?
I dedicate myself to finding such people and working with such people. So take, for example, now they've managed to come up with something called biohacking. So it's using your biology and chemistry to help you get to peak performance better. So there's certain ways in which you can eat, certain supplements you can take, which will make you a lot more alert, a lot more productive. So, you know, some of these things are brand new, they're pioneering, and, you know, they haven't got into the mainstream yet. So I think definitely there are new approaches coming of doing things. Take, for example, let's look at exercise, okay? There's a way of exercising which, you know, if you looked at the past, they used to say, oh, you have to spend at least an hour exercising.
Yeah.
And this particular gentleman in Japan called Dr. Izumi Tabata came up with a protocol called high intensity interval training. And it's called the Tabata protocol. Yeah. And in 4 minutes, 20 seconds, he was able to show that the people who did that protocol were able to get 28% higher muscle growth and 28% aerobic growth compared to the other group in the study, which was doing half an hour of cardio. So like that, we're beginning to find that there's much more effective, efficient ways to do the same thing and get far better results. So I'm just sharing one aspect, which is exercising. So if you begin to then make this part of your day-to-day life, not only do you get better results, but you're able to do it in a more time-effective way.
Which begs the question in turn, we have never lived in an age where we can learn as much as we can today, get as much information that we can today.
Yeah.
How come people are not bettering themselves at a faster rate? How come productivity in the businesses is not growing at a faster rate when, just like you said, we are hearing things that can be done, we have methods to do it better? How come we're still stagnating somehow?
You know what, I really believe that there's a huge malaise out there where people are not clear about what their purpose is. People lack clarity about that, and that's one of the biggest things out there that we need to help people with. And one of the first things that I do when I start working with business people is I help them get clear on their vision. And if they get very clear about why they want to do something, then, you know, they're much more open to the how. Then they will search out for those particular hows. You see, I'll give you my example. What happened was in 2012, my son was born. And at that moment in time, I was working 6.5 days a week. I was working 8 to 10 hours a day. And it was really unsustainable. And I was talking to some friends of mine who already had kids. I said, look, if you could turn back time, what one thing would you change with regard to your kids, you know? And I don't know, being a new father, I was expecting different answers. But literally every one of them gave me the same answer, saying that, look, you know, we wish we had spent more time with our kids when they were young. And then it struck me, I was thinking when I was growing up, because my father was an entrepreneur as well, and we had a factory, and he had to change shifts and night shift and things like that. So many times, he'd be awake and go off to change the shift before I was awake, and then he'd come back late, and I was already asleep, and I'd missed out on that time that I could have had with him. And I made a decision at that moment in time that, look, I want to really spend some time with my son. And my wife also worked with us at that time. So she said, look, why don't we look at me going in 2 days a week and you staying with our son? And for me, that really made sense. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but the why was very clear. It was compelling. So, that's why then, once I got clear about the why, then finding out the how, it was easy to get. And that's why I was then able to discover all these different things, that energy is important, that there's new forms of exercising. So I could do all the things that I wanted to do and, live a more fulfilling life and work less.
So you're sharing how a very personal motivation, being able to be with your family, with your kid,
yes,
actually helped you process your professional life to get to that point.
Yes.
But of course, you do coach essentially entrepreneurs, businesses, etc. But how universal is your message? I mean, what would you respond to an artist that comes to you and tells you, Neeraj, I don't care about time. I don't care about energy. I just want to feel my art, and I want to be able to do it, to compose a piece of music or to do a painting whenever I feel like it, whenever I have the inspiration, and it takes the time it needs. I would maybe want to I'll be having the energy at 3 a.m. or maybe at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
I don't care about all the methods. A procrastinator can come to you and say, listen, I get the job done, but at my own pace and at my own time. How universal is your message? Or do you think there are other ways where people behave and do things and it's just like it is, and let's all be happy with our own ways of doing things?
I think you've raised a wonderful question there, and particularly I'm thinking of the creative types, the artists.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I certainly have. When I go into the shower, I seem to get the best ideas in the world, seem to just wait until I'm in the shower.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what are we basically saying there? That, creative thought flows when we are relaxed. And the typical work environment is such that it's so go, 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 let's get this done, and you're up against deadlines and etc. That we forget to take time out. And I think that's a really important part of productivity, that you've actually got to take breaks, and you've got to take time out to procrastinate, because you're able to then relax, and when you're relaxed, your creativity goes up. So there are times where, even if you're an artist, yes, you need that particular time. But even if you're a business person, you need to think creatively. So we need to be able to take time out. And stress is the biggest killer of creativity. And play is a great way by which, we can restore harmony. We can get rid of the stress. Because, if you play with a child, you play with a dog, or you just play some music or whatever it is, and you relax, suddenly the stress goes down, the creativity goes up, and actually you'll be able to do better in all other areas of your life. So I think taking time out is something that's important. I think taking time out strategically, we've got to block time out, and we've also got to take some time out where we say, okay, no to technology. We turn off technology. We've got so addicted to technology these days. So I think these are little things that we can begin to put into our routine, which will actually give us that break and allow a lot more creativity. So I would agree with some of these working methods. The other thing is that each individual is different. You know, take for example, I figured out that I work really well first thing in the morning. So doing important things for me in the morning makes sense. But my better half, you know, likes to do things at night. She's a night bird. So she works best at that time. So, you know, you've got to figure out, you know, individually, you know, what your likes, you know, what do you work, when do you work best. So, you know, all of these particular things important for your awareness, and then begin to schedule things around. I think the key thing, again, coming back is, you know, if you can then get important things done, doesn't matter when you get those things done.
Neeraj, everything that you're saying seems to make perfect sense instinctively. It's human nature. We just can't disagree with you.
Yeah.
However, of course, you work with entrepreneurs, with businessmen, and the idea, the way that you have shaped your professional life, that is a 3-day work week.
Yeah.
Do you ever think it would be possible to actually implement that in a normal business where the boss, the owner, the investor would say, okay, you've got you've got all your tasks done in 3 days, so let's use the 4th day or the 5th day for additional tasks. Do you think it's ever possible to actually do that when you're not your own boss?
I think it's a little bit difficult when you're not your own boss.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that corporations are waking up to is that we also need a culture of entrepreneurs, you know, entrepreneurs that are, or rather people who work for us in large corporations who have an entrepreneurial way of thinking. And if I was managing someone like that, who's managing to do all the work that I'd given them in 3 days a week, then I'd ask them, you know, to start considering that, you know, if you now have this time available, what would you now like to devote that to? Is there some things that you'd like to develop? Is there some things that you'd like to, you know, put together?
A Google type of approach.
Yes, yes. So, you know, Google 3M, you know, they have that time off, you know, and that's where things like Gmail have come out, you know. So it's really encouraging that and saying that, look, you know, this is an important part of innovation. You know, if we're going to be relevant, then we've got to innovate. And if we begin to have these pockets of time where people are free to do anything that they want, and in fact, not only free, but we will support them. We will even maybe give them a budget, you know, some resources. Then you never know, the next multi-million-dollar idea could be coming from that. So I think this is something that the innovation-focused companies have managed to figure out, and I think a lot more other business leaders need to become more aware of that.
With these words of wisdom, Neeraj Shah, thank you very much for
Thanks so
joining us.
much, Rabin. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.